All right, welcome back to Cold Opal. Today we're going to talk about buying rough opal. And there's a lot of different ways that people go about this. What we're going to be concentrating on this video is buying opal from online sources, be it Facebook, be it opal auctions, be it eBay. What are the important things that we are going to be looking for? And we're going to test ourselves to see if we did a good job on this batch of parcels that we have ordered. Now, what we'll do is we'll take a look at the pictures and the videos that made us feel that it was a good idea to purchase these, and hopefully we'll be able to do an unboxing of the parcels now that they've arrived. And I haven't opened them up, so I'm still in the dark as to the actual uh, condition and quality of the opals. So what we're going to do is just kind of go over what we used to analyze what we're looking at here, and what we were looking for in the materials that we bought. Everybody buys different types of opal for different types of things. We had several things in mind when we purchased these parcels, so these may align or not align with what you are trying to do with opal. If you're looking to cut just giant, you know, large gemstones, this is probably not the area that you are generally looking into. But this parcel that we purchased first is it says big size, colorful lightning ridge gamble rough, 900 carats. Now, the term big size for this particular seller, and you will need to familiarize yourself with the terms that are used and kind of what they mean, because everybody's going to be a little bit individualized with their terminology and um, what what they mean by saying big size or colorful or gamble. And we'll get into the word gamble later on because that is, I think, trips a lot of people up. So these pieces are things that they basically looked at and they assessed them because that's their job. We're buying opal from a middleman on this site. This isn't straight from the miner. This isn't just coming off of the tailings. Um, this is opal that has been gone over. This is likely from a commercial parcel. They likely buy many commercial parcels and sell them um, so that they can have a steady supply for their auctions every day, and they can have a steady supply to put in their store. So the terms that I looked for in this particular one were I was looking for a larger opals, to even if it's just kind of from potch and color or a risky gambly lot, so that we could do some practice and break in wheels with that. So this fit that bill. Now, when I looked at it, I was kind of like, well, there's not necessarily one of the opals in here that you'd look at it and be like, okay, this is just potch, or this is a lot of stuff that you could use for grinding and breaking wheels in and getting started and practicing stuff like that. So maybe this won't be as good for doing that as we had originally thought. But let's take a look. Let's take a look at the pictures here first. Um, this picture, it kind of shows you a little bit of a rough overview of what we have here. There's some crystal opal. There's some black on blue opal that's over here. This is Lightning Ridge, obviously, so this is kind of a common type of opal to see. There's some more of it down here. This is listed as seam opal, but in my opinion, and this is just my opinion from what I've seen, is that there's knobbies in these just as much as there is regular seam opal. Just like you'll find seam opal in a parcel that was sold as knobbies. So yeah, there's a good mix of different types of opal here. There's nothing here that you would look at and say, "Oh boy, this is gonna turn into something great." They go through these. These are well looked at. Like they didn't really think that there was going to be much here of value. So I kind of wanted a couple of these. This kind of looks like a witch's hat, but it could be different when we take a look at it. And like this is a knobby here, and there's a couple others that are knobby or knobby-esque. And then there's seam opal. Like this is definitely seam here. You can see that there's a seam running along. Um, and this is back there is seam. This is seam. Um, a lot of sand in this piece. Uh, all of these pieces, just sand everywhere. Um, that can work to your advantage, and it can, you know, clean up nicely on the outside, and you could have some good stuff inside of some of these things because they can't shine the light through that sand, or hopefully they wouldn't have been able to shine the light through the sand. Um, so anything that would be too potentially valuable, they'll probably just snip it open. They won't be throwing it into a lot like this, so just be aware of that. Um, so yeah, there's a nice variety, and some of these are large enough that um, you could work them to practice your techniques and your skills on the wheels. So that will turn out nicely for us. The size, now the sizing on these things, it's sized from the largest piece, which I believe is this blue sand covered one here. So you can imagine from there to there, that's the 35 millimeters. So 3.5 centimeters is how big that one is. So you can kind of take an idea of like, okay, well this one is maybe 20, 25 centimeters or thereabouts for its length. And you can go over here and say, okay, well this one, how big is that? Maybe that's, 10, 12, you know, that kind of range for how big that is. So if you see something that you really like and you're like, well, I really like this particular opal, but I can't tell how big it is. That's how I go about sizing them. I kind of size up the biggest one and I kind of have to guess at which that one is. This one could also be the longer one because they'll pick out the longest one and that's the one. So it could be this one here. Um, and I guess we'll find out when we get to measure them in the next segment. But we're kind of going off of the thing where these like medium sized ones are kind of a little bit like around 20, and that's kind of what we're going on. Maybe a little bit less, 15 to 20. Some of these ones are a little bit bigger than others. This one's definitely maybe 20, 20 plus. So we have to keep that in mind when we're looking at these things. The size is very deceiving, especially if you're looking at this on a large computer monitor or you're looking at this on a phone. Like those different scales are gonna play um, into how you view the opal, and you kind of have to see past that, and you always have to think of how large the pieces actually are. That's going to be very important when we talk about this parcel over here because boy, does this one look nice. Much nicer than this one. But there's a catch, and we'll get into that. So for now, we're going to start this up and kind of go over each one in a little brief analysis, um, just to take a look and see what we've got. This one there is very interesting. It's kind of almost got a picture-y stone look to it. Um, and it's got some precious opal in there, but it's getting out of it. Getting that out of there would be the issue. There's some crystal stuff. There's a little knobby there. Like that might have something in there, but probably not. That one's nice looking. A lot of these ones I kind of had planned to carve, so these aren't going to be like, oh, yep, this is the next hot big gemstone. Some of these are going to be carvings for practicing that. This one looks nice, like it will be able to wear some wheels down a little bit. Same with this one there. This could have opal in there, and you could get surprised. That's probably where the gambling comes in. I mean, that would definitely be a gambler. Um, there's some more crystal stuff, some thinner seam. It doesn't look like there's a whole lot of rubs in this. This is looking pretty rough. I do like that one that he just picked up there, um, but it may or may not turn out how I think it could. Um, so yeah, like there's not gonna be anything in here that really is just gonna like blow you away. Um, and some of this is larger than others. Like that one's not too bad of a size, but some of these are pretty small. And the closer he gets it to the camera, the more distorted the size will be because you won't be able to tell. So there's some nice stuff with some of these crystal pieces that have a lot going on. Um, like this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece. They're all kind of cut from the same cloth for as far as their looks go, and I do like how those things look, and I think they have potential as carvings. The amounts of sand that we're seeing here, though, leads me to believe that these were going to be kind of, either thrown in as weighty filler material, and this might be the weighty filler material that is in this parcel, and I guess we'll find out. Because some of them are so sandy, and some of these might just be chipping off of there, even if you tried just to get the sand out, and it just might fall to pieces, and you just might be left with opal chips. And maybe some people buy parcels just specifically for that. The price was at a level where you could understand someone might just buy something like this for um, different non-gemstone reasons. Maybe they take the couple things that they think are gamblers, like this one and that one, um, and maybe this one here, and move it on down the line, and then they take the rest of it for themselves and kind of crush it into chips or try to salvage inlay from some of these pieces that we see here. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what we purchased this one for. And like I said, the price was um, at a level where this didn't go insane in the bidding. I will say this: I did see a parcel that was very similar to this that had one larger cutter that had looked to have quite a bit of potential, but it was just blue on black type of this type of stuff. Um, and it was in the parcel, and it was in the same size range, and it had the same kind of descriptive words used along with the parcel. I think on the overall, this parcel looks better than that one. This one went for half what that other one went for. And this one went first, and then the next day, I was looking at that parcel, and I kind of had it marked in my head to take a look at that and see what it eventually went for. I never even bid on it because by the time that the thing was ticking down, it had already gone up to really rather surprising levels. But that one, I think they thought that maybe that one cutter, which was right on top of the parcel, like somehow snuck by these guys. But really, they're putting it in there in these larger parcels for a reason. They're not going to be taking top end cutters and throwing them into these gamble or crafting material parcels. And if you just looked at this parcel from the perspective of crafting material, it would be pretty expensive, I gotta say. So some of this value here is the gambling nature of it. And we'll kind of see when we get to open it up. Um, if this, I have no doubt that this is going to, the material that we see is going to be representative of this. Like, I don't think there's any lighting shenanigans. These guys use lighting arrays, and I know that going into this. I don't have a lighting array, so when I open the bag up, I'm not going to be expecting to see what they have here because I don't use the same type of lighting. Um, so yeah, we've talked about this one. Now I thought we would take the opportunity to talk about this one a little bit. All right, so this next parcel was purchased the next day. We were able to go through the same storefront so that we were combining shipping. Shipping is a significant enough cost factor, and so is the insurance. These are both insured. These were both um, arrived, at least as far as we can see, so that they have arrived and the insurance was not needed in that regard. But in case something happens and they just got crushed or something like that, you'd probably see the bag and the bag looks fine. But so yeah, combining shipping was that was utilized here to try to bring the cost down as much as we can. I don't exclude the shipping and the insurance um, when I kind of think about how much I paid for an opal. I have to factor that into the cost basis because otherwise you're going to get real out of control. Um, and this one is a lot smaller. This is only 100 carats. It may have more stones in it though than the larger parcel. This one was large pieces. This one is going to be extremely small pieces. Now, we can look at the pictures, and to look at these pictures, you'd think that these are the same scale, right? Unless you're familiar with the plates, then you you'd say, okay, well, yeah, this one is the same size, right? But no, this one is much, much smaller. Um, and one of these pieces might weigh right around what this entire parcel weighs, because this one has a couple of very large pieces in it that might be 100 carats just by themselves. So we have some rubs here. We've got some seam material. There's other stuff though that was more interesting in this parcel to me, and that was a couple of knobbies that were in here, and we'll be able to take a look at it when we look at the video. We obviously get into different color ranges. If you notice, this one has basically, with outside that one, um, this piece right there that had a little bit of color coming through in those little tiny windows that looked really rather hard to be able to access. The colors that you have over here are kind of, you know, aquamarine to purple to blue to clear to, that range. There's not going to be anything over here that's like, okay, well, there's a black opal here that has just fantastic colors. Like, probably not, or absolutely not. Now over here, we on the very surface have other colors. There's greens, bright greens. There is oranges. There is pinks. There's pink over here, pink down here, pink over here, pink and orange. There's a tiny bit of pinks on this piece up here. So when we take a look at this, we'll be able to see. Okay, so yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at the video. We'll be able to see what we saw that made us purchase this. This one was more expensive than the first parcel we looked at. Much smaller, much more expensive. But as you can see, right down that one, there's some flashes of color. There's a rub. That there's a nice seam opal that he's got over there that he doesn't show us. There's another piece of nice seam that's hiding behind that other one. This was the rub that was on top of the parcel. There's some potential in the seam opal here for sure, and there's some potential in these knobbies. A lot of this is so small that you have to think of the right type of thing to. Sure, you might cut a stone out of this, but how large is it going to be? A third of a carat, half a carat, three quarters? Like how much material are you going to get out of these? if those numbers are even in the realm of possibility, which we don't know. That one is nice. There's a lot of colors here that you're not seeing in the other parcel. So, that does have value. There's a nice knobby that he kind of buried there. Um, this one right here is very intriguing to me. I just like the looks of that one. It has nice solid black potch on it. And there's like little tiny, 5 millimeter stones all about. So the ones that I saw that I liked and what made me jump on this parcel, because this one, it wasn't like this one over here where I basically put in a bid last minute and took it down, no problems. Nobody bid against me at that point. Did the same thing with this over here, and it was a different story. Another person had identified this parcel, and they went after it fairly seriously. Um, I ended up getting this for a price less than what I was willing to pay, but that's maybe part of getting into the moment and saying, okay, well, I can't let this go by. Being the fact that I was combining shipping, the other parcels that had they had also targeted for the same night all went for well more than what I was willing to pay for them, and they were kind of off of my radar early in the night. This one, however, the bid stayed very low until the last minute when I bid on it. I mean, it was half of what it eventually went for up until the last minute. So, um, you've got to be careful and kind of watch yourself and make sure that no one is, shilling the bid up. You kind of have to be aware of, something like that. But the person who was bidding against this parcel, I had seen him bidding on parcels similar to this and kind of identifying what he likes. Maybe he makes rings and uses inlay, and he wants very small but bright opals to cut little chunks out of. Or maybe he wants to make earrings, or maybe he does something else that I'm not even thinking of. Um, I mean, these ones are nice enough that the size doesn't bother me as much. Now, the biggest piece, I believe I tried to identify it before. It's either this one here or this one here, the triangle rub. They're about the same. I mean, they're in the same thing. And as you can see, it's 12 millimeters now. So we've gone from over here, which the biggest piece was 35 or 35, depending upon how you want to measure that, to 12. So if that means that this is 12, then maybe this is 10. So the colorful part of this opal here is only, you got to kind of convince yourself of the scale of this, that's only 3 or 4 millimeters across, which without, putting any rulers or tools up on the screen, that's very, very small. It's like this area here is like less than the size of a pea, if that helps at all. Um, so that is very nice color, very bright. It's lovely. There was good wording that was used in the auction up here. It says full of bright colors, 100 carats, many cutters. So, and I don't necessarily deny that there's a lot of cutting potential in this parcel because there certainly is, but it's just goes to the fact of how big are the stones going to be. Like this one is so intriguing here, but this one is probably 5 or 6 centimeters across. So you kind of have to take that into your evaluation when looking at these things of just how small that is. Um, we'll get to see though. There's some nice crystal pieces. There's a lot of seam that looked like it was fairly clean, and you should get a nice stone out of some of those things. Maybe there's doublet making material that are kind of what those people were looking for those flatter seam opals. But we'll be able to find out, and it'll be exciting to see how these grade out once we get our eyes on them. And we just wanted to go over these to give us a baseline for what our expectations were um, when we're opening these packages up. It's very easy to get caught up in the moment and say, oh man, this one here, I really want this particular one, and then you kind of lose track of like um, how large that single piece is. What is the potential value if everything worked out in your best case scenario for your use case? Like, what is the value on that? For me, it was these knobby looking things. This one might be a seam or a knobby. It kind of looks like a knobby, but it might be seam. This one over here and this one back here. This one back here has the most mystery in it. You can't see much from the outside, and it could be just potch. But I'm interested to see what's inside of it. Um, from a couple of the angles that you see in here, and it really whizzes by, but you can see that it may have something inside there. I don't think he would throw just potch in here just to up the weight on this parcel here. So yeah, there's some different colors, some higher potential, but again, these are going to be very small. Think of this as 10 mil across, like that's small, and this looks kind of like that is just cracking off the surface of this. So this might not be salvageable at all on that particular piece. But there's enough stones here where you're going to get some stuff cut out of this. We're not really worried about the cutability of some of these pieces because you can see that there's stones to be cut from some of the seam for sure. Um, and then we'll be able to see kind of how we judge this and if we judge it correctly. It wouldn't be surprising for me to judge a parcel very poorly. So yeah, we will hope to get a rough idea of if we did good or okay, or if there is enough potential when we are able to see them for ourselves. Because it can be very difficult if you see a lot of tutorials about how do I buy opal, how do I get rough opal, how do I do this. They'll say, well, I only buy my opal in person at shows and stuff like this. And it's like that might be the best for that person, and they don't want to deal with kind of this whole education that you need to put yourself through. Because when I started watching, I didn't just like jump right in and just start bidding on things. I watched for weeks, maybe even longer, maybe even quite a bit longer, to kind of get a feel for it's like how do these parcels sell? How do they get bid up? Is there bidding wars? Is like because this one here, I mean, it would the price doubled in the time that I was bidding on it. So what kind of things to look for, things to expect, because metering your expectations should be an important part of the process. And as long as you're not looking to get just, well, these are going to be larger in my mind. And when I open up the bag, I see microscopic little pieces of opal and then I'm disappointed. Um, I mean, you have to know what you're getting into. Um, Knowing the nomenclature for the different sellers is important. Kind of getting a feel for the material that that person sells. These middlemen sell a lot of material, and most of it I find to be expertly graded as far as what you're looking at in the parcels, and you can kind of see which ones were thrown into the parcel to um, raise its appeal. Um, for this one over here, I don't know if there was anything thrown in to sweeten the deal. I could be wrong though. I mean, they might have thrown in something that I'm not seeing as something that has a lot of potential. Here you could look at some of these seam pieces that had the reds and oranges in them and say, okay, well that's what they were kind of throwing in here to move this parcel. So yeah, this is just a brief overview of kind of our expectations going in. So when we do the next video in the series, the unboxing and the brief analysis of what we get, we are going to be able to tell if we're doing a good job or not. I mean, putting effort into this end of this will likely save you money in the long run. Um, Buying opals in person is great, but how many people are able to buy rough opals from Lightning Ridge in person? I mean, it's great if you live in Australia and say, well, we can take a trip over there and just kind of make a weekend out of it. Or, I know there's not a whole lot of luxurious accommodations up there, but maybe some people go and they try to buy straight from miners. They try to buy people who are from people who have been fossicking, whatever, way that they're getting the opals. Like, um, it would be ideal for everybody to be able to put a light on their own opals that they're buying and say, okay, well, I don't like this one or that one, because this you're kind of taken away. You're removed from one part of the inspection, which is putting the light on it, shining it through, getting an idea of what is inside. Is this sand? Is this looking potchy? Is there any color peeking out of the back end of these pieces that we don't get to see? All of those things. Are important things to remember. And since we're kind of handicapped in that regard, we're trying to do the best job possible with what limited tools we have. These videos that I showed here are I think they're pretty fair videos. They are shot within a lighting array, but other than that, they should be fairly true. I don't know if they use a UV filter or not. They don't know. I don't think they've gone to that length. Most people shoot these videos with their phones, I'm guessing. So UV filters on phones, I don't know what the state of that is, or if you could even get them, or maybe they have them already inside the lens of the camera. I'm not sure. Maybe that varies from manufacturer to manufacturer. So yeah, we have handicaps, but with a little bit of practice, we're going to try to see if we can do this right, or at least do this so that we're not totally on the wrong end of this transaction. So thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next one, and it should be popping up in your screen right now.